Oh man, I overslept. What time is it? It's Runescape time!
Wow!
In this video, I made 300,000 gold in just a couple minutes with zero risk. And I was able to do it because I took advantage of another player. And I'm absolutely not sorry. Sucks to be you, but if you want the juicy details, you're gonna have to stick around and find out about it. Oh, and if you would, go ahead and leave a comment on either experiences you've had with other players, good or bad, or what you'd like to see in the next video. On with the show. So I bought a house. In RuneScape, of course. In real life, I'm planning on owning nothing and just being happy. But I bought the house for like 1,000 gold. Turns out they just sell you the location. I can confirm no real house actually existed at the location. Bit of a scam if you ask me, but honestly at the current price of about $1,700 per ounce of gold, $7 million, which seems about right in this market for an empty piece of land. But I decided since they wouldn't give me a real house, I'd start building on it. But at the time I recorded it, there was some weird bugs. I'd build something, but have to leave and come back for it to show, or sometimes it just wouldn't show. I believe it's been fixed because my gameplay is kind of staggered from the time I actually upload these. But I decided to move on until construction gets a bit more stable, so it looks like I'll be homeless for just a little bit longer, but a home is coming. I will own something and be unhappy, I promise. With housing out of the picture, I figured I could start raising money, as I was down to about 10,000 gold, or about $17 million. This was just not going to cut it. However, the voices in my head told me that there was a fallen star in the gnome stronghold. The voices did say some other things, but I don't think they'd be happy if I tell you guys, so I'm just going to keep those to myself. Well, and the voices. So I did mine for like 5 minutes when I got there, and then I got completely distracted by the agility course next to me. You're just gonna have to accept this. My life is plagued by this, and now you get to experience it with me. But it wasn't all bad. I got 12 agility levels before I realized I should be mining again. I went back to Star Sprite, and it worked out pretty well. I got myself 50,000 gold. Or about $85 million in modern day money, assuming it's all 1 ounce coins. This comparison tells you absolutely nothing, but it's important you consume the knowledge with me. It's going to trigger some kind of dopamine release, and that's going to make you want to watch more of my videos. Or something like that. I haven't really thought it through. Honestly, I just kind of wandered around for a bit after that, though. I mined for a few minutes in the desert. I spied on a penguin. 2, actually. I went back to pickpocketing men for a little bit, and somehow ended up in Drainer Village to do the agility course. But then I felt really ashamed. Apparently the agility course wasn't implemented back in 2009. That was added in old school RuneScape. So I sort of wasted time on that one. Also, felt bad because I should have known that. Like, that's something that I'd never seen the agility course until recently when I checked out old school RuneScape. But while I was there, I figured I'd do the nearby quest, Pirate's Treasure. He's a pirate that wants some alcohol from the island of Karamja. You've got to go to the island and put some alcohol in a crate, and then it gets shipped back to the mainland. Once it's there, you just got to ask the local shop owner for a job, wear an apron, and you're pretty much good to go. You can get it from the crates in his back room. Once you do that, he's going to tell you about a guy, and I guess the guy knows where the treasure is. So I headed to Vrock, and I kind of just went through the guy's stuff, and he's got a note that tells you to dig in Falador, where Sarah Dolman points to the X. And I figured it was going to be pretty simple. And actually it was super simple. It literally, the statue in Falador points to the X. After digging, I got 2 quest points and around 500 gold, a gem and a ring. Not bad for just a little bit of running around. Although mostly it's just a good quest for the quest points. I still don't have a whole lot of direction because RuneScape is just such a sandbox and there's so many things to do. And I don't really want to confine myself too much in this series. But I definitely want to finish all the quests before I consider myself having finished with my playthrough. Speaking of quests, since I was already doing quests and in Falador, I headed over to the White Knight's castle to start the Black Knight's Fortress quest. Being honest with you, I didn't read any of the quest or remember even how to do this quest. I knew where to go from the last time I did it, but I didn't really know the requirements. But luckily, over at the 2009scape wiki, there's some really helpful guides. So after reading the guide, I grabbed a bronze medium helmet and some chainmail, and I headed over to the fortress. Not forgetting the free cabbage, of course, plus that was going to be needed later, but it was good food too. Always need your free cabbage, of course. Then it was just more or less figuring out the maze. I definitely forgot a few times, but if you go into a vent, you can listen to the conversation that the witches, she's making a potion, basically, and you gotta sabotage it with some normal cabbages that aren't from Drainer Village. That's really important. After dropping the cabbages through the hole, the witch's brew was ruined, and so I headed back to Falador with the good news. And it really was good news. I got 2,500 coins for completing the quest, and that 2,500 coins is going to be very useful later in this video, so keep an eye out for that. At this point, I had maybe 12 to 15,000 gold. And so I had this great idea that I should train magic so that I can get high alchemy. Although, as I'll get into later, I should have thought that one through. If I don't have money, how am I going to train magic? But nevertheless, I did end up going to the rock crabs to train. And I figured I could do it while I was being a bit distracted, since I always got other things going on. So I really like these grinds where I can kind of just keep an eye on things as my guy does his thing. Just attack when I need to attack, click when I need to click, that sort of thing. But, with all the great recommendations rock crabs get, it wasn't really a great experience. It kind of sucked. The only problem is when you do get things that you may want to keep, your inventory gets full and then you gotta go somewhere else because there's no bank in that town. There's a lot of other things going on, but there's no bank. And so I ended up going back to the Varrock Guards. I figured I'd just chill out there. The loot's not as good, but they do have kind of some things I can sell for a little bit of gold, and it's right near a bank, so I don't really have to worry. And they're a pretty decent thing to grind on. You can kind of not worry about them killing you while also being able to level up pretty quickly. So that became my grinding spot. My favorite is actually the cave south of Port Sarum. There's a little cave on the top of a hill. I only like that one because back when I originally started playing RuneScape, I ended up finding that, and that's where I would train for like long periods of time. So it's more just something that's kind of a nostalgic thing. Not that it's actually any good. But of course, as happens when trying to level up your magic, you end up running out of runes. It's an age-old story. It's kind of the story of RuneScape. It's in the name. It's right there for you to see it. And so I ran out of runes. I didn't have any money. I was kind of screwed. But after my first great idea came my second great idea. I decided, hey, if I don't have runes, why don't I make them? So I went and mined some rune essence, and then I mined a bit more rune essence, and then I mined just a little bit more rune essence. And by the time that I was done, I felt like I had lost all sanity. I had mined only 252 rune essence for that run, and I realized I couldn't do this. Now, even though I only had about 2,000 gold after buying some runes for training, I decided to get some law runes to help me out with getting around, and here's where I messed up. I went all the way to Ardoyne to turn in some penguins I had scouted, because I was hoping that I'd get some good rune crafting XP to get me started. I got a level 3. I kind of messed up. I should have just taken the gold. Okay, so it wasn't so bad. I realized I could do mine runes now, which meant I could skip the win runes. However, after checking the 2009scape drop tables, which there's a really great tool for that over at the 2009scape website. If you want to use it, it's super helpful. You can look up an item you want, and it'll tell you all the mobs that drop it. But I ended up finding the common imps actually drop it, and I ran into one in Falador, so I figured I'd just start farming that one. I killed the imp, and then I killed it again, and then again, and about 50 times I started to worry. I had a 1 in 32 drop chance, so I knew it could end up taking hundreds of kills if I got really, really unlucky. But it was starting to wear me down. I figured it wouldn't drop. It was actually another 75 kills, and then it happened. I was the proud owner of a mine talisman. And a couple episodes back, I actually killed it a ton of times and still didn't get a mine talisman. So it's been a bit of a battle for this one. Probably 250 kills total after all the farming I've done on these guys. And this was my first one. But It was at this moment I knew I was destined for great things. But hey, I did actually end up leveling up the rune crafting. I managed to get 24 rune crafting, which was really good. Really good. I was excited about that. However, I was completely broke at this point and couldn't buy any more essence while being way too bored to go any further. So that's what I did. I went further. I managed to get about 412 more essence before giving up this time. New record, actually. But that was quickly beaten by my next achievement. If you remember at the beginning of the video, I mentioned that I kind of took advantage of a player. And it was sort of a coincidence. I saw the gold, and that's all that mattered. I was ready for this. So I noticed someone was buying runes on the Grand Exchange, a lot of them, at drastically larger prices than I could buy them from the rune shop. Some of them double, some of them 3 times, thousands of them. The only issue was I didn't have much money. So at first I sold 13 chaos runes, which gave me enough money to buy 27. I sold those, and then I bought 25 death runes, which let me buy 35 chaos and 30 death runes. I sold those, and then I had 30,000 gold, starting from basically zero. The money I got was selling runes I already had. I won't show you how many times I did this because we'd be here all day. It took a long time to get my money up. But I ended up with 165,000 once I was done selling them. The store was pretty much empty, so I logged out for the time being with the intent to continue selling them once I was back on. And boy did that pay off. I made 293,000 gold by the time the shop was empty. And this is actually when I learned about Ali's discount wares. But I wanted to do some leveling at that point, so I didn't keep doing that because there was only so many runes I could actually sell, and there wasn't a large stock of them. I'm sure I could have traveled the map and bought runes from everywhere, but I just wanted to get back to leveling. I figured 300,000 gold was plenty. I'm not going to complain about that one. Now with all this money and all these runes, I did end up hitting 55 magic, which was my goal for getting high alchemy, which takes us back to the first video where I mentioned I had found a guide talking about making money from high alchemy and fletching. So if you made it this far, before I wrap up the video, if you'll comment below, go ahead and write, "You should be ashamed of yourself." That way, when people see the video, they'll kind of... I just like the idea of people searching through, like, why is everyone saying this? And at least in this case, they're going to assume that I did something horrible in the video and they'll go through and watch it. And it also helps with the algorithm, everybody commenting and kind of watching through the video. So if you'd like to help me out, go ahead and leave that comment. And, and make sure you join the Discord. It's down in the description. It's pretty cool. You should join it. But yeah, so... in the next video, I'm definitely going to dive into fletching. It's going to be a long grind to get where I want with fletching, but I think we can make a lot of progress and start pumping out some money. Especially now that we've got a little bit of money, we can really make some progress with all of the different skills that I want to work on. So yeah, I'll catch you in the next video.